Israel, police shot a 30-year-old man after he allegedly tried to stab an officer. Witnesses say the police opened fire in response to his suspicious action. More details on this later in the news. Good evening, I am Nina Richie Lago Flores. This is Mata ng Agila International. Now for the headlines. Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri assures the public that any constitutional amendments will only target economic provisions. Sandigan Bayan 5th Division acquits Senator Jinggoy Estrada of plunder charges. Pyongyang tests its underwater nuclear weapon system. King Charles and Princess Kate cancel royal duties. And Coldplay's Music of the Spheres tour is now live at the Philippine Arena.
Las Vegas, Nevada,
España,
Paris, France,
United Kingdom,
Washington, D.C.,
London Bureau, Papua New Guinea,
in New York,
Washington, D.C.
Mata ng Agila,
Mata ng Agila. Mata ng Agila International.
Trusted, connected, on point.
Senate President Juan Miguel Zubiri has assured the public that any constitutional amendments during his tenure will exclusively target economic provisions with no intention of altering political aspects. Senate President Zubiri said, and I quote, "The Senate, through almost all the senators I had spoken to and met with, only agreed to economic amendments, and that's why the public need not fear or push for simple but meaningful amendments to the charter." He stated that he is even willing to resign from his Senate presidency if the chamber proceeds with changes to political provisions. Senator Jinggoy Estrada commended Zubiri's commitment to safeguarding the Senate as an institution. He expressed confidence that leading efforts to amend the 1987 Constitution, particularly in economic aspects, would not endanger Zubiri's position despite the Senate's historical reluctance towards charter change. More oil price hikes are seen to take effect next week. The Department of Energy Oil Industry Management Bureau projected that motorists are expected to pay 65 to 85 centavos more for gasoline per liter. Diesel per liter would increase by 45 centavos to 65 centavos. Meanwhile, kerosene price per liter may go down by 10 centavos or would remain stagnant. The Department of Energy said the price hike is the result of geopolitical tensions in the Red Sea. The government is intensifying its efforts to achieve the ambitious goal of reducing the poverty rate to single digits by 2028. In his inaugural State of the Nation address in 2022, President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. made a resolute commitment to diminish poverty to as low as 9% by the conclusion of his term. Recent data indicates promising progress, with the country's poverty rate dropping to 22.4% in the first half of 2023, down from 23.7% in the same period in 2021. This translates to 25.24 million Filipinos whose per capita income falls short of meeting their basic food and non-food needs, marking a noteworthy improvement from the 26.14 million estimated in 2021. The incidence of poverty has seen a decline in 15 out of the 17 regions nationwide between 2021 and 2023. Particularly, reductions have been observed in the National Capital Region, Cordillera Administrative Region, Cagayan Valley, Central Luzon, Soc-Sargen, and Caraga. The Sandigan Bayan 5th Division has acquitted Senator Jinggoy Estrada of plunder charges in connection with a pork barrel scam. Estrada, however, was guilty of one count of direct bribery and sentenced to 8 to 9 years imprisonment. Estrada was also found guilty of 2 counts of indirect bribery with a punishment of 2 to 3 years in prison. The senator also faced temporary suspension from public office, disqualification from position, and disqualification to right to suffrage or voting. Estrada also paid a 3 million peso fine to the court. According to his lawyer, this means Estrada will go to jail because the charges are all bailable. Estrada's camp will also appeal the ruling of the anti-graft court because bribery is not included in the information in the plunder case.
So surprised since based on the information sheet, there was no bribery or indirect or direct bribery filed in the information sheet. It is only the case of plunder. And I have been already acquitted, I have been exonerated of plunder, and nothing is final, okay? That is appealable. We will file the necessary motion for reconsideration before the Sandigan Bayan.
Okay.
And yes, I will instruct my lawyers to exhaust all legal options, all legal remedies.
In 2014, Estrada was jailed in the custodial center in Camp Crame. He was released in 2017 after he was allowed to post bail. President Ferdinand Marcos Jr. hailed the expansion of the petrochemicals manufacturing complex in Batangas City, claiming that it would generate about 215 billion pesos and 6,200 jobs by 2025. The president noted that the facility features more than just cutting-edge technology, but also proof of Filipino skills and business resurgence. The president assured that his economic team would bolster the economic growth of the Philippines as the manufacturing complex would open more jobs to Filipinos.
Together with the rest of the economic team, they will continue to create a climate that propels economic growth, boosts incentives, promotes ease of doing business, and funds high-impact infrastructure. The bottom line of their assigned mission is this: to reduce red tape that chokes industry and innovation and replace it with a red carpet that ushers in capital, foreign and domestic, and provides the path towards progress.
The House of Representatives is taking swift action to provide immediate relief to the 7 congressional districts in the Davao region, which have been severely impacted by recent flooding and landslides. The House is facilitating the prompt release of 35 million pesos in financial aid, along with 17,500 food packs to aid the affected communities. House Speaker Martin Romualdez has emphasized the urgency of their efforts, highlighting the importance of delivering substantial assistance without delay. According to the National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council, the recent flooding and landslides have affected nearly 45,000 families, comprising over 187,000 people in the region. These unfortunate incidents have been attributed to heavy rains brought about by a shear line last Tuesday. The National Security Council has expressed its disagreement with Canada's travel advisory from Mindanao. In a statement, National Security Advisor Eduardo Año said, and I quote, "We note the recent travel advisory issued by the Canadian government for several provinces in Mindanao. While we appreciate their concern for the safety and security of Canadian citizens, we wish to express our disagreement with the basis and scope of the advisory." Año invites Canadian government representatives to have a dialogue with Philippine authorities to clear things up, as such discussions would help ensure that travel advisories accurately reflect the current conditions in the country. The travel advisory released by Canada raises concerns about crime, terrorism, civil unrest, and kidnapping in parts of Mindanao. Under the advisory, the following areas in Mindanao were categorized as avoid all travel: Basilan, Sulu, Tawi-Tawi, Lanao del Sur, Maguindanao, Bukidnon, Camiguin, Lanao del Norte, Misamis Occidental, Misamis Oriental, Cotabato, Sarangani, South Cotabato, Zamboanga del Norte, Zamboanga del Sur, Zamboanga Sibugay, and Sultan Kudarat. Meanwhile, the advisory categorized Agusan del Norte, Agusan del Sur, Dinagat Island, Surigao del Norte, Surigao del Sur, Davao de Oro, Davao del Norte, Davao del Sur, Davao Occidental, and Davao Oriental as non-essential travel. The Department of Agriculture has announced a temporary ban on the import of birds and poultry products from Japan following the reported outbreak of highly pathogenic avian influenza. The banned products include all domesticated and wild birds, eggs, day-old chicks, and various types of poultry originating from Japan. Agriculture Secretary Francisco Tio Laurel Jr. has further reinforced this measure by signing a memorandum order suspending the issuance of sanitary and phytosanitary import clearance for inward shipments of poultry products from Japan. In accordance with the guidelines set by the Department of Agriculture, only poultry products that were in transit, loaded and accepted on or before November 10th will be permitted entry into the Philippines. Any shipments arriving after November 10th will face strict consequences, including potential return to Japan or confiscation and destruction. Coming up, Japan signs deal with the United States to purchase Tomahawk missiles. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov accuses the United States and the United Kingdom of violating international law after Yemen bombing. And Spotify says the 27% commission fee of Apple is outrageous. Stay tuned, Mata ng Agila International will return for more global news.
Trailblazer in the world of entrepreneurship, a true visionary who has seamlessly blended innovation, success, and a keen business sense. His ventures are also enabling many Filipinos through franchise opportunities and dealerships. Open for Business explores the sweet smell and taste of success as we welcome an entrepreneur whose name is synonymous with fragrance and luxury, Joel Cruz.
Branding is like your children. Siyempre, pag lumalaki yung mga anak mo, kailangan masubaybayan mo sila mabuti. Masakit sa amin kapag kami nagsasara na tindahan. Kasi doon namin nakikita ang failure namin kung bakit nagsara siya.
Open for Business with Cesar Vallejos. Every Sunday, 9 p.m.
Sunday 25.
Welcome back to Mata ng Agila International. Japan's defense ministry has signed an agreement to purchase 400 Tomahawk cruise missiles from the United States. This is part of Tokyo's efforts to bolster its defense capabilities. Japanese Defense Minister Kihara Minoru and U.S. Ambassador Rahm Emanuel witnessed the signing of the contract. Defense Minister Kihara disclosed that Japan and the U.S. would launch the project by October 2024. Meanwhile, U.S. Ambassador Emanuel reaffirmed the planned deployment as an act of deterrence in the region. Japan's defense ministry noted that the missile would cost about $1.15 billion and another $570 million to install them on Japanese ships equipped with Aegis missile defense systems. Tokyo plans to complete such deployment of the Tomahawk missiles by fiscal year 2027. Meanwhile, Pyongyang has announced that it has finished testing its underwater nuclear weapon system. This is in response to the drills done by the United States, South Korea, and Japan this week. Dubbed as HALE 523 system, North Korea has ramped up continuously its military actions. Last Sunday, Pyongyang said it has deployed a new solid-fueled intermediate-range ballistic missile. A live-fire drill at the maritime border with South Korea was also performed by the North in the first week of January. Meanwhile, in September 2023, North Korea unveiled its first submarine capable of launching nuclear weapons. Deadly riots in Papua New Guinea have exposed the South Pacific Island nation's growing reliance on private security firms in place of police. With its stretched police force frequently mired in scandal, the country's swelling ranks of private security operators are increasingly taking over the job of keeping the peace. Thomas Highlikeness tells us more.
Papua New Guinea's Prime Minister James Marape came to power promising to transform the often volatile former British colony into a prosperous, peaceful country. But to do so, the Pacific Island nation will have to shed its dangerous reputation. The latest violence occurred on January 11th. Angry crowds tore through the capital of Port Moresby, torching cars, ransacking grocery stores, and setting fire to buildings. Australian analyst Mihai Sora says that didn't help the country's image.
Violence on this scale and the looting that we saw will have an impact on business confidence.
At least 25 people died as the violence spread to other parts of the country. During the rioting, private security firms hired by shop owners found themselves in charge of safeguarding parts of the city. Sinclair Dinnan is an Australian researcher who has focused on crime and politics in Papua New Guinea. He says the country simply doesn't have enough police officers. There are only about 6,000 officers trying to police about 12 million people. In contrast, there are an estimated 30,000 private security personnel. But Dinnan says the problem goes beyond law and order.
People don't have food security. People don't have the kind of security over livelihoods, over their sort of futures, how to look after their families and so on, as well as, real genuine concerns about their personal security.
And it's that poor quality of life that leads to scenes like these. Analyst Sora says day-to-day living is not easy for people who reside in the capital of Port Moresby. He says those people face extreme financial hardship.
Cost of living is very, very high. Personal security is low. Services are poor. So it's a difficult place to live. It's a difficult place to make a living. And the country has, a very well documented problem with law and order.
Human Rights Watch says the country remains a dangerous place to be a woman or a girl. That's due to widespread sexual and gender-based violence, as well as weak rule of law. Prime Minister Marape's goal of transforming the country, at least for now, seems to be a long ways off. Thomas I. Likeness from Atanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The United States Congress has created a caucus group supporting the Iranian group, the People's Mojahedin. RT's Donald Corder reports.
From terrorists to freedom fighters, that's how a new caucus of Congress warhawks is flipping the script when it comes to a rebel group called the People's Mujahideen, or MEK, in Iran.
Congressman Gosar supports freedom in Iran. The Ashraf caucus shares that goal. The expectation is for peaceful change to organically come from the people of Iran. At no point has Congressman Gosar supported U.S. military intervention in Iran, nor would he.
Congressman Gosar would never support military intervention? According to a leaked letter from the head of this new caucus, they're already talking about fighting for regime change against what they call an evil dictatorship. And the organization they want to do their bidding was officially considered a terrorist organization not so long ago. It's got many baffled as to just how far politicians are willing to go to attack Iran.
The fact that a documented cult-like organization with a history of terrorism, human rights abuses, and committing atrocities alongside Saddam Hussein can get endorsed by lawmakers in Washington is a testament of how much money and power is behind the pro-war with Iran infrastructure here.
The caucus itself is comprised of both Republicans and Democrats, some of which are former Trump administration officials, like Mike Pompeo and Mike Pence. High-profile players in Washington throwing their weight behind a group whose headquarters in Albania was raided on suspicion that its members were committing cyber crimes and other provocative activities. On top of that, the organization seems to function more like a cult than a political organization. According to Human Rights Watch, its leaders have ordered beatings and torture against members accused of stepping out of line.
The former MKO members reported abuses ranging from detention and persecution of ordinary members wishing to leave the organization to lengthy solitary confinements, severe beatings, and torture of dissident members.
The MKO held political dissidents in its internal prisons during the 1990s and later turned over many of them to Iraqi authorities who held them in Abu Ghraib.
Terrorists, criminals, and torturers. Not a great look for Washington's foes turned friends, especially if the U.S. actually believes they're going to be able to rally the Iranian people for full-scale regime change.
At least 10 civilians have lost their lives in recent airstrikes targeting the neighboring towns of Arman and Mal in the southeast Syrian province of Sweda. While the responsible party is strongly suspected to be Jordanian forces, their government has yet to officially confirm any involvement. The airstrikes executed simultaneous attacks on residential neighborhoods, causing substantial material damage to several houses in Mal. However, the second strike in Arman resulted in not only the collapse of 2 houses, but also claimed the lives of at least 10 civilians. Among the victims were 2 girls, both under the age of 5. Jordan's involvement in such attacks is not unprecedented, with past raids near the shared border aimed at disrupting weapons smuggling and drug trafficking operations. Russian Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov has accused the United States and the United Kingdom of trampling international law as the 2 nations fired missile strikes on Yemen. RT's Charlotte Dubensky reports.
The Pentagon says at least 130 attacks, including 53 in Iraq and 77 in Syria, were recorded between October 17 and January 11. Most of the drone or rocket attacks targeting foreign troops have been claimed by the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. The Islamic Resistance is a loose alliance of Iran-linked armed groups that oppose U.S. support for Israel in Gaza war. A U.S. drone strike in early January killed a military commander and another member of Harakat al-Najuba, a faction of Hashid al-Shabi. The Hashid is a collection of mainly pro-Iranian former paramilitary units now integrated into the Iraqi armed forces. At the White House, President Joe Biden says the U.S. is working on understanding how the situation will develop.
As you can see, Iran is not particularly well liked in the region. And where that goes, we're working on now. I don't know where that goes.
Meanwhile, Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani repeats his call for the U.S.-led international anti-jihadist coalition to depart his country amid soaring regional tensions over the Israel-Hamas war. He says the end of the international coalition mission is a necessity for the security and stability of Iraq. Jessica Bautista for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
U.S. President Joe Biden says that airstrikes by Pakistan and Iran on each other's territory show Tehran is not liked by many in an increasingly tense region. Jessica Bautista has more.
The Pentagon says at least 130 attacks, including 53 in Iraq and 77 in Syria, were recorded between October 17 and January 11. Most of the drone or rocket attacks targeting foreign troops have been claimed by the Islamic Resistance in Iraq. The Islamic Resistance is a loose alliance of Iran-linked armed groups that oppose U.S. support for Israel in Gaza war. A U.S. drone strike in early January killed a military commander and another member of Harakat al-Najuba, a faction of Hashid al-Shabi. The Hashid is a collection of mainly pro-Iranian former paramilitary units now integrated into the Iraqi armed forces. At the White House, President Joe Biden says the U.S. is working on understanding how the situation will develop.
As you can see, Iran is not particularly well liked in the region. And where that goes, we're working on now. I don't know where that goes.
Meanwhile, Iraqi Prime Minister Mohammed Shia al-Sudani repeats his call for the U.S.-led international anti-jihadist coalition to depart his country amid soaring regional tensions over the Israel-Hamas war. He says the end of the international coalition mission is a necessity for the security and stability of Iraq. Jessica Bautista for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
The post-election crisis in Comoros has intensified with the first reported death in street violence. And there is a call from the opposition for a national day of protest today against what it calls the masquerade of President Azali Assoumani's victory. Diane Rosson reports.
A hospital official in Comoros, capital of Moroni, says a 20-year-old man had died, likely from a gunshot, and 6 others had been wounded. One of the wounded is in critical condition. The Comoros opposition has rejected the re-election of Assoumani, a former military ruler, alleging large-scale fraud. It has demanded this week's vote be annulled. Riding the wave of discontent, the defeated challengers called for a national day of protest to be held Friday after weekly Muslim prayers. But the opposition has denied being behind what the candidates called a spontaneous uprising. Reports of the first serious casualties emerged 2 days after the electoral authorities announced Assoumani's win. That triggered cat-and-mouse street battles between soldiers and angry opposition supporters. But the opposition points out that the unexpectedly low 16% turnout figure in the presidential vote falls far short of the figure for parallel governor polls. Street protests are banned in Comoros. The island nation in the Indian Ocean has been more than 20 coups and attempted coups in a short period post-independence in 1975. Diane Rosson for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Spotify has launched a vehement critique against Apple's recent imposition of transaction fees, reaching up to 27% in the United States. Apple recently declared its willingness to allow app developers to conduct transactions outside its platform, albeit with the condition of paying a 27% commission fee. Expressing its discontent, Spotify labeled Apple's decision as outrageous and accused the tech giant of employing any means necessary to safeguard its profits. Spotify is now actively urging the British government to prevent the imposition of similar fees in the United Kingdom. However, the British government, having introduced its Digital Markets Bill last year to rein in the influence of tech giants, has not disclosed whether it will intervene in Apple's case. Up next, Toronto warming centers filled to capacity amid extreme weather or winter weather. 13 children dead after boat capsizes in India. And Axiom launches private astronaut mission to the International Space Station. Mata ng Agila International will be back after a short break. Don't go away.
This portion.
Exclusive! Isang tagahanga ng responde na hiling lamang ang wheelchair para sa kanyang inang may sakit. Nirespondihan!
Aking pasasalamat ko sa 25 ng responde at yung message ko nabigyan ng kaukulan, ng kahilingan ko.
Viral ngayon, mga away kalsada. Iisang lalaki lamang ang sangkot. Expose, perwisyo at lubak-lubak na daanan sa Malaria Road, Caloocan City, inirereklamo.
Masyadong lubak. Hassle po eh. Tapos maraming nadidisgrasya din po dyan.
Sabado, alas 6 hanggang alas 7 ng gabi, ito ang Responde, Mata ng Mamamayan.
Let's get together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
In Toronto, Canada, shortage in housing makes the current extreme winter weather more difficult for the city. This week, warming centers are reportedly filled to capacity as thousands seek shelter to escape the unfriendly freezing temperatures. Yolanda Aspiras has that story.
Temperatures in the Greater Toronto Area plunge this week as the city experiences negative temperatures with heavy winds and snow. The City of Toronto is working on opening more warming centers to help vulnerable residents warm throughout these days of extreme cold weather. These warming centers are located in downtown Toronto, North York, and Scarborough areas, in which they also provide some food, warm blankets, sleeping bags, and warm winter clothing. Last weekend, all of Toronto's main warming centers were at capacity, especially on Saturday when the temperature dropped to negative 15 degrees Celsius, which has called for more warming centers to be open for longer. This extreme cold weather is especially dangerous to people who experience homelessness, who may end up in a library or public transit if they are unable to access a warming center. In Toronto, Ontario, Yolanda Aspiras for Matenang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
In western India, rescuers work on Harani Lake after at least 15 people, including 13 children, drowned when their boat capsized. The incident happened in Gujarat state. The children were traveling to a picnic organized by their school. Naya James tells us more.
The fatal incident happened in Gujarat state as students were traveling to a school picnic. Dozens of people joined a frantic search for survivors around the lake near the city of Vadodara where the boat capsized. A hospital official says the death toll is at 15. Other hospital officials say that the victims included children as young as 10, along with 2 of their teachers. The cause of the accident is still not confirmed. A Vadodara district official, however, says that 27 people were believed to be aboard. Deadly boat accidents are common on Indian waterways. Last year, at least 22 people were killed when a double-decker tourist boat capsized in the southern state of Kerala. Survivors of that accident have said that many of the passengers were not wearing life jackets. Naya Dames for Matanang Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Israel's MDA has tended to a man who is critically injured after he allegedly tried to stab police on Jaffa Road outside the Jerusalem Central Bus Station. Witnesses said the officer shot him in response to his suspicious actions. This caused panic among bystanders. The MDA staff evacuated the man to Shah Zedek Hospital with penetrating injuries. Another individual was also evacuated from the scene in light conditions. Authorities said an investigation is underway. Ecuador's authorities have arrested the suspected killers of a prosecutor and deployed soldiers to take control of a key prison. The moves are part of an ongoing war between the government and powerful criminal gangs. Cristina Cuesta has more.
Ecuador's police commander, General Cesar Zapata, says 2 suspects have been arrested and a rifle, 2 pistols, and 2 cars have been seized as evidence. Assailants gunned down the prosecutor in his car on Wednesday on the streets of the port city of Guayaquil. The slain prosecutor, Cesar Suarez, had been in charge of the investigation into last week's dramatic live broadcast assault by gangsters on a state-owned TV studio also in Guayaquil. Meanwhile, hundreds of soldiers and police, accompanied by army trucks, poured into the vast penitentiary complex Thursday. It's the same one from which gang boss Adolfo Macias, alias Fito, escaped last week. The jailbreak sparked a government crackdown and, in turn, fierce retaliation from criminal groups. After Thursday's raid, the army shared photos of cuffed inmates in their underwear laying face down in prison courtyards. Similar images have been disseminated in recent days as the government tries to wrest control of prison backs from the gangs. Christina Aquesta for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
In the U.S., a damning Justice Department report cites critical failures by Texas police. This when they waited until 21 people had been killed by a mass shooter at a school before finally intervening. Chrisanne Fergata has more.
In May 2022, 19 young children and 2 teachers were killed when a teenage gunman went on a rampage at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde, Texas. That fatal school shooting was America's worst in a decade. Police eventually shot and killed the gunman. In a report by the Department of Justice, investigators identified several critical failures. According to the report, the most significant failure was that the responding officers should have immediately recognized the incident as an active shooter situation. Over 550 pages long, the Critical Incident Review says the response to the mass casualty incident at Robb Elementary School was a failure. It says, however, the painful lessons detailed in the report are not meant to exacerbate an already tragic situation. Police in Uvalde have been under intense scrutiny since it emerged that more than a dozen officers waited for over an hour outside classrooms where the shooting was taking place and did nothing as children lay dead or dying inside. U.S. Attorney General Merrick Garland says the students and teachers, many of whom have been shot, were trapped in a room with an active shooter for over an hour as law enforcement officials remained outside.
Victims remained trapped with a shooter for more than an hour after the first officers arrived on scene. There were also other failures in leadership, command, and coordination. None of the law enforcement leaders at the scene established an incident command structure to provide timely direction, control, and coordination among the enormous number of responders who arrived on scene. This lack of a command structure, exacerbated by communication difficulties, contributed to confusion among responders about who was in charge and how they could help.
Garland says communities across the country and the law enforcement officers who protect them deserve better than to be forced to respond to one horrific mass shooting after another. He says no community and no law enforcement agency should have to face that threat alone. This, he says, is why they came to Uvalde and why the report is being released. Chrisanne Fergata from Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
A Kenyan judge rules that Doomsday Cult leader Paul Nitenge Mackenzie must undergo a mental health evaluation before prosecutors formally charge him with 191 counts of murder. Paul Nitenge Mackenzie told his followers to starve themselves and their children to death in the Shakahola forest, where hundreds of bodies have been exhumed. The Kenyan authorities say that he told members of his church to starve themselves to death. The prosecutor's office shared a list of charges that it intends to bring against Mr. Mackenzie and 30 of his followers, including 191 counts of child murder. The office said in a separate statement that 95 people in total would be charged with crimes in connection with a case which it called the Shakahola Massacre. French police officers protested Thursday to press their claim for extra pay during this year's Paris Olympics, and they say if their demands are not met, there is a possibility of strikes and disruption to the Games. Philip Toledo has that report.
Aware of the risk to the country's image, French authorities are scrambling to get pay deals with several public sector trade unions who want bonuses for working during the Olympics. In Paris, several hundred officers gathered near the police headquarters. They chanted, "The Olympics will be without us," and held flags and banners. The union warns protests are only the beginning if authorities do not meet their demands. Several police unions had urged officers to show minimum activity on a so-called Black Thursday of protests. At Paris Charles de Gaulle Airport, police went on strike early in the day, forcing passengers to wait an extra hour. France is banking on its first Olympics in 100 years to showcase the best of the country, from the historic monuments of Paris to its role as a global center of food, fashion, and sporting excellence. Philip Toledo for Matanang Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Gang members have ruthlessly targeted a strategic neighborhood in Haiti's capital, leaving residents trapped in their homes amid flaming barricades and the relentless barrage of automatic gunfire. The once tranquil Solino now echoes with gunfire, its skies obscured by thick columns of black smoke rising from torched homes. Distraught residents, unable to escape the chaos, make desperate appeals for help on radio stations. The toll of this violent onslaught stands at about 24 reported deaths as the marauding gangs spare nothing, setting homes ablaze in their destructive path. The stakes are high as the potential fall of Solino could grant gangs unhindered access to previously peaceful neighborhoods like Canapa Vert. Amidst this turmoil, Haiti eagerly awaits the deployment of a foreign armed force led by Kenya, a response approved by the UN Security Council in October. The social enterprise Sea Ranger Service has set sail in the UK, offering individuals aged 18 to 29 an unprecedented opportunity to contribute to the protection of the seas while earning a wage. This initiative allows young people to embark on a maritime adventure, actively participating in crucial efforts to conserve Britain's seas. Sea Rangers will engage in diverse tasks aboard sailing vessels, ranging from routine maintenance and climate research to monitoring and preservation activities. On a daily basis, Sea Rangers might find themselves scrubbing decks, preparing meals, operating wind-powered vessels, and undertaking more complex responsibilities, such as processing collected samples and documenting observed wildlife. Originally founded in the Netherlands in 2016, the Sea Ranger Service has collaborated with government agencies carrying out biodiversity restoration in waters across the Netherlands and France. Now, with its launch in the UK, the initiative is poised to expand significantly, bringing the company closer to its ambitious goal of restoring 1 million hectares of ocean biodiversity by 2040 and training 20,000 individuals for careers in the maritime sector. Zambia is grappling with a severe cholera outbreak with over 400 reported deaths and more than 10,000 infections, prompting authorities to extend the closure of schools nationwide after the year-end holidays. Zambia's government has initiated a large-scale vaccination program and is delivering 2.4 million liters of clean water daily to affected communities across the southern African nation.
Iyi process inobatsira kudiridza utachiwana hwekorera hwemudumbu kozi vanhu vari kuwana utachiwana kunyanya mumvura yemuzvibhorani saka zvinokwanisa kuderedza utachiwana hwekorera nekuda kuti patakaita tanga kuita process iyoyi vanhu vaino zvavakutorwara nemudumbu vanhu vakutozvinzwisisa zvatozvishoma izvezvi.
In response to the crisis, a major soccer stadium in the capital city has been repurposed into a treatment facility. Cholera is an acute diarrheal infection caused by bacteria, often transmitted through contaminated food or water. The disease is closely linked to poverty and a lack of access to clean water and sanitation facilities. Japan's space agency aims to become the 5th country to put a spacecraft on the moon. The Japan Aerospace Exploration Agency, or JAXA's Moon Sniper, will attempt a precision landing on Friday within 100 meters of its target. Sources said Japan wants to play a bigger role in space, partnering with the United States to respond to China's space technology. Axiom Space has successfully launched its astronaut mission to the International Space Station. A SpaceX rocket was launched from the Kennedy Space Center in Florida, sending the first all-European commercial crew to space. This marked the third group of paying passengers to visit the ISS. The mission, dubbed AX-3, is led by the Axiom chief astronaut Michael Lopez Alegria. It is joined by three paying passengers, Walter Villaday, an Italian Air Force pilot, Alper Gezerabci, a Turkish mission specialist, and Marcus Wand of Sweden and the European Space Agency. The AX-3 crew is set to join the other 7 people currently on the ISS. Coming right up, Buckingham Palace says King Charles and Princess Kate are both battling health issues. Lakers overcome Luka Doncic triple-double to rip Mavs. And the Philippine Arena hosts Coldplay's Music of the Spheres tour. Catch more news in sports and entertainment when we return.
Nasaan ba yung last will and testament na sinasabi mo? Akin na, basahin natin.
Kailangan yung magkakapatid na mag-stay dito sa bahay niya hanggang sa matupad ninyo ang lahat ng habilin niya.
Wala nang gusto sa mga niluluto mo kasi hindi naman masarap.
Oy, excuse me.
Tigil nga kayo! Kaldero lang, ipupag ko sa ulo niya yan.
Kailangan ko ang pera, kaya kailangan mo magbayad ng utang mo.
Brief mo ba to?
Ano masama?
Abay, kumonti ko na itong nakuha kanina para ipuna sa mukha ko. Yun lang naman ang masama. Parang gusto kong hatiin itong bahay.
At walang tatawid sa linya na yon.
Okay.
Oh, malinaw.
Malinaw.
Let's get together. Sunday 25. Sunday 25.
Ako si Lolo Ever.
At ako si May.
Ang aking forever. Si Lola May na passionista. Loves ko kahit ang tapang niya.
Hoy Ever, loves din kita. Naligo ka na ba?
Si Ever for May. At si May forever.
Britain's royal family has had a double health scare as King Charles III faces treatment for an enlarged prostate and his daughter-in-law Catherine, Princess of Wales, recuperates from abdominal surgery. From Europe, Sarah Alcantara reports.
With King Charles III undergoing treatment for an enlarged prostate and his daughter-in-law Catherine, Princess of Wales, recovering from abdominal surgery, the British royal family has experienced a double health crisis. Separate announcements came within 90 minutes of each other from Buckingham Palace and Kensington Palace in a rare show of transparency from royal officials about personal health matters. The King, 75, is due in hospital next week, while Catherine, often known as Kate, was admitted to a private London clinic on Tuesday. The palace has released a statement that His Majesty's condition is benign and that King Charles will attend hospital next week for a corrective procedure. The King's public engagements will be postponed for a short period of recuperation. Benign prostate enlargement is common in men aged over 50 and is not normally considered a serious threat to health or an increased risk of developing prostate cancer. If the prostate gland is enlarged, it can put pressure on the bladder and urethra, affecting urination. Causes of prostate enlargement are unknown but are thought to be linked to hormonal changes with age, according to the UK's National Health Service. On the other hand, a statement was released that Princess Kate's surgery was successful and it is expected that she will remain in hospital for 10 to 14 days before returning home to continue her recovery. Based on the current medical advice, she is unlikely to return to public duties until March 31. Kensington Palace stated that the Princess of Wales hoped that the public will understand the princess's desire to maintain as much normality for her children as possible, and that her wish that her personal medical information remains private. I am Sara Alcantara, London Bureau for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
Prestigious Japanese Book Prize winner Ria Kudan admitted that she had used ChatGPT when creating her novel Tokyo to Dojoto. The futuristic novel was hailed as flawless by some judges who awarded it at the biannual Akutagawa Prize. Tokyo to Dojoto is about the construction of a high-rise prison tower in a distant future Tokyo who are over-reliant on artificial intelligence. Kudan confessed that 5% of the book, quoting verbatim sentences, were generated by AI. The author's confession brewed mixed responses on social media, with some praising her creativity, while others called it undeserving of Japan's top literary prize. Anthony Davis, the Los Angeles Lakers All-Star center, is beginning to show he is developing into an adept passer. Davis had 9 assists to finish one shy of a second triple-double in 3 games, and the Lakers overcame Luka Doncic's triple-double to beat the Dallas Mavericks 127-110. Davis also had 28 points on 12 of 17 shooting and added 12 rebounds in 33 minutes. The 12th-year center has averaged 2.4 assists per game in his 12-year career, but has 5 or more assists in 4 of the past 5 games. He had a career-high 11 Saturday and a win over the Utah Jazz as he recorded his second triple-double. Davis's 9 assists led to 28 Lakers points. D'Angelo Russell was the primary beneficiary as 8 of his team-high 29 points came off passes by Davis. Returning after missing 3 games because of a sprained right ankle, Doncic had 33 points, 13 rebounds, and 10 assists in 33 minutes for his 7th triple-double of the season and 63rd overall. Dallas was 11 of 40 on three-pointers as Doncic, Tim Hardaway Jr., and Kyrie Irving combined to go 3 of 21. Los Angeles, which evened its record at 21-21, shot 53.8% from the field, 49 for 91, and had 12 three-pointers. It also had a 32-7 advantage in fast break points.
There's a double. Russell gets a clean look.
With 13 nods, Oppenheimer beat its summer box office rival Barbie as BAFTA announced its nominations on Thursday in London. Stephanie Mayo has the details.
Christopher Nolan's Oppenheimer leads this year's BAFTA Film Award nominations with a total of 13, a wide gap from its rival Barbie, which received just 5 nominations. Meanwhile, Yorgos Lanthimos' Poor Things has 11 nods, while Martin Scorsese's Killers of the Flower Moon and the Holocaust drama The Zone of Interest both have 9. Nolan's 3-hour epic Oppenheimer, about the creation of the atomic bomb and which has already won 8 Critics' Choice Awards and 5 Golden Globes, is up for major BAFTA categories such as Best Film, Director, and Adapted Screenplay. Meanwhile, Greta Gerwig's Barbie, despite being the top-grossing film of 2023, missed out on a nomination for Best Film. Gerwig also failed to make the cut in the Best Director race, which features only one female, Justine Triet, for Anatomy of a Fall, which has a total of 7 nominations. Another surprise absence is the core team of Killers of the Flower Moon. Director Scorsese, lead actor Leonardo DiCaprio, and lead actress Lily Gladstone all failed to make the cut. But Robert De Niro received a nod in the supporting actor category. The BAFTA Film Awards 2024 will take place on February 18th at the South Bank Centre's Royal Festival Hall in London. The ceremony will be hosted by David Tennant. Stephanie Mayo for Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point.
The first night of the Coldplay's Music of the Spheres tour in the Philippines is live now at the Philippine Arena. We have our very own Gianna Lianes to tell us more about the British rock band's concert.
sold-out Philippine Arena for the first night of Coldplay's Music of the Spheres tour in Bocaue, Bulacan. More than 55,000 Filipino Coldplayers gathered for the momentous return of the British rock band to the country after 7 years.
We're so grateful to be here. Welcome everybody. On the left side, on the right side, in the middle, over there on this side over here. All the way to the back. We welcome you.
Fans gathered early at the Philippine Arena for the full experience. With the concert's official start at 7:30 p.m., doors opened at 5 p.m. for those who purchased the Super Solace Experience and the Ultimate Spheres Experience. The latter's tickets including a backstage tour, a professional photo op on stage, a dedicated entrance, exclusive custom merchandise, access to dedicated merch counters, and a sustainable Coldplay gift item. And speaking of sustainability, Coldplay was proud to run their whole show on renewable energy. In an aim to save the planet, they are using electric vehicles and cutting down on waste and plastic their entire tour. Plus, for every ticket sold, they plant a tree. Even the wristbands provided for the audience, known as silo bands, were made from compostable materials. Warner Music Philippines breakout pop star Chica Marie was the opening act of the show, who days prior gushed on social media how she was very grateful for the opportunity to open for one of the most iconic artists ever. It was a spectacle of colors and a journey through time for Coldplay's set. Lead singer Chris Martin begins with tracks Higher Power, Adventure of a Lifetime, and classics Paradise, The Scientist, and Viva La Vida. Then closes with Fix You and Beautiful, all accompanied with visuals of flying planets, confetti cannons, and rainbow-colored lights. Beyond the singing and dancing, fans could not help to feel especially emotional when a fan was brought on stage to sing along with the band for Everglow, originally written about love, loss, and grief. During A Sky Full of Stars, fans were asked to put down their cell phones in order to fully immerse themselves in the moment. And championing acceptance and understanding, the band performed something just like this, with Chris Martin interpreting the lyrics in sign language. The concert was truly like no other, with a lot of concert goers mentioning that this is definitely an experience checked off their bucket list. After tickets being sold out as early as June of last year, Coldplay immediately announced a second night of their visit to the Philippines. That happens tomorrow, Saturday, January 20th, again at the world's largest indoor arena, the Philippine Arena in Bocaue, Bulacan. Gianna Llanes for Mata ng Agila International. Trusted, connected, on point.
Glad you're having the time of your life there, Gianna. And to send you off this week, here's a quote from Canadian rapper Aubrey Drake Graham. Smile and let everyone know that today you are a lot stronger than you were yesterday. I guess we have our circumstances to thank for that, because it's those same circumstances that hone us into the stronger person that we are today than yesterday. And that's a wrap for tonight's news. Catch the latest updates on our social media channels. I am Nina Richie Alago Flores, wishing everyone a happy and meaningful weekend. This is Mata ng Agila International, trusted, connected, on point. Thank you for choosing Mata ng Agila International as your trusted news source, keeping you connected to the world and on point with stories from around the globe. Follow, like, and subscribe to @Net25 TV.